All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this presentation. I'm Kelly here. It sounds a little bit like yogurt. And today I want to share a little bit of information with you about some of the tools that I learned in my doctoral program to overcome intimate partner violence or narcissistic abuse. This also applies because what happens is this also applies to burnout and complex PTSD as well. I want to talk a little bit more about that. But the idea here is that the harsh world, especially for an HSP, can cause burnout, complex PTSD. And if we don't address these at the earlier level, it can actually then go into chronic illness as well. So, again, I'm Kelly Huger. Kind of sounds a little bit like yogurt. I'm actually trusted by some of the top medical experts and research professionals in the area for the transformational results that I deliver. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the tools that I've used. I want to share some of these tools with you. Now, of course, I can't share everything in the short time that we're here together, but I do want to go ahead and give you some tools that you can start using right away. So if you've been a part of a harsh relationship or toxic relationship, these are tools you can start using right away on this call. And then I'm also going to share some more information about my private group program where I actually teach a lot more of these tools. So, all right, let's just get started. So, again, Kelly Hugert. And so I've actually been practicing holistic methods for 40 years now. So, yeah, the hair is gray. So, I learned how to make my first herbal medicine um, when I was probably, I don't know, 14, 15 years old. I don't remember now because it was a lot of years ago. But, and I have been making herbal medicine and playing with plant medicine ever since. And I started using hypnosis when I was about 19. And then I later got certified in that as well. So I've been doing all things holistic for about 40 years. And I've been seeing clients for over 20 years now. I've lost count of that as well. But so as a board certified hypnotherapist, I hold advanced certifications in clinical hypnosis, somatic hypnosis, cognitive behavioral hypnotherapy, trauma informed, and transpersonal hypnotherapy. And I'm also a trauma informed coach as well. So I really understand the concept of holding the container from a trauma informed aspect. So I'm also a phytotherapist, which is a fancy word for saying that I blend and use plant-based medicine. So I'm a clinical herbalist, clinical aromatherapist. I also am a flower essence practitioner. I'm a medicine woman. I've been growing at-risk plants for many years. I use local plants. We call this bioregional herbalism. I use local plants and weeds as medicine every day of my life. And not only do I use it, but I also teach others to use it. I used to have 9-month apprentices. I actually used to even make botanical perfume and face serum as well. And I've taught at many different herb conferences. I've taught for colleges as well. I've been guest speakers on podcasts. I've been interviewed by magazines. No, I'm not saying all that to brag. I'm just giving you the information that I've been doing this for a very, very, very long time. I am not new. And if you just stay with me, I'm going to share a little bit more about some of the tools that I use to recover from narcissistic abuse and total and complete burnout and complex PTSD. And I'll share a little bit about my story here in a minute. But in my private group program, which I'm going to share a little bit more about the information in that, I share everything that I've learned in my doctoral program. And I even share the book that I wrote as well in my doctoral program that not only helped me to heal from narcissistic abuse and complex PTSD, and even helped improve my chronic illness that was triggered by this abuse. And um, and as a martial artist, I believe that once you get someplace, you should always reach a hand back and help others. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to share some of these tools and techniques with you guys. So here's a little bit about my story. I don't want to go into a ton of time with this, but you can see a little bit of the before and after pictures here. So the picture on the left is right around 2017, 2018, I believe. I am an HSP, just like you have been an HSP all of my life. I didn't really understand what that meant until I got to be in about my 30s. And I found a book by Rose Tree called, I believe it's the name of it's called Empowered Empath. Anyway, I began to understand a little bit more about my, the fact that I was a sensitive, an intuitive, and a highly sensitive person. And actually, this is what my doctoral research is on: highly sensitive people who have suffered from um, narcissistic abuse or intimate partner violence and who recovered naturally. So, this is the entire work of my doctoral program for the past, however long I've been in it, 6 years now, 5 years, I don't know. I'm actually, as the time of this recording, I'm actually finishing up my research. So, it hasn't been published yet. And the book has been self published, but it's not been completely published yet. But this is the entire work that I've been doing for all these years. And now I'm sharing these tools with you guys. So I had a complete life crash. So now I'm using the term life quake because I saw that somewhere and I loved it so much. And it was so horrible for me. I never felt like I did anything right. I could clean the entire house top to bottom. And the person I was with at the time would come in and find the one little thing that I didn't do, or the blade of grass that I missed while I was doing everything. So the person that I was with, the only thing really they had to do is come home and drink, and that's what they did. Basically, they came home and they drank. So the person had an addiction, multiple addictions, unfortunately. And those multiple addictions, along with the fact of the psychological problem that they had, end up projecting all on me, and I end up developing complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So nothing I did was right. It didn't make any difference. I always up the level. I'll do more. I'll do more. And the idea, especially with a narcissist, is you will never be enough for them. I don't care. Like, I used to even grind and make my own bread from scratch. I would grind the berries, the wheat berries from scratch, make the bread from scratch. Nothing was ever good enough. And so it finally began to wear and tear on me so much and so much. And I began to um, have nightmares. I had night terrors. I had nightmares for at least 7 or 8 years of my entire life. No joke. I had nightmares. I would be found at the top of the stairs sometimes. I don't even know how I didn't fall down the steps. I had night terrors. I would run through the house screaming. It was horrible. Later on, I developed panic attacks as well, and everything was my fault. I was crazy, I was weird, I was whatever, everything was my fault. And what I didn't know at the time is that my partner was actually had been having long-term affairs. My partner was gaslighting me all the time. My partner was turning other family members, um, that person was turning other people against me and making like I was this whole big horrible person, just projecting actually their sins on me so it would cover up the fact that they were the one that was doing all the nasty stuff. And that's a true story. So anyway, long story short, I came down to Tewodi, which is the property that I have here, down there in Virginia. And I just remember thinking, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. All my credit cards were maxed out, so I couldn't get an attorney. Um, I had no money to buy a house because that person would not do the right things, and they are still they're still doing financial abuse. Finally, I just let it go and walked away. But I couldn't buy a house. I was homeless, um, and that person was made a lot of money, so there was no reason for me to be in a situation where I was homeless, had no money for an attorney, and could not afford to take care of myself in this legal situation. But that's what happened. And we can't go back in the Wayback Machine, but what we can do is now learn from this. This is what I try to teach now other people. I try to help them so that they don't get in the situation that I did. But I remember being on this property one day, and I just remember thinking, and this was before I had the tiny house here, just raw land. I remember being down here on this property one day, and I just remember thinking, I can't take another step forward. I can't do another thing. I can't do anything. I just can't do another thing, another day. I can't do it. And I felt so lost, and I felt hopeless in that moment. And so I'm going to skip the part would be a major trigger warning. So I'm going to kind of skip that part. You can fill that in if you like. But I just remember contemplating, you know, just getting it over with. And I stood there for a moment, and I heard this whisper. And when I heard the whisper, it said, "Look up." And when I looked up, I saw in the clouds, because it was a cloudy day, between rotating between clouds and sun. So I looked up and I saw this set of clouds. And when I looked up, that set of clouds looked exactly like my grandbaby's face. And in that moment, I did not know how I was going to get through. But in that moment, I knew that it wasn't going to end today. I didn't know what it was going to turn out like. I had no idea what it was going to turn out like, but I just knew it wasn't going to end. And so in that moment, I actually got a phone call at the end of that day. And it was actually a friend of mine, and she called me and she said, she says, we need your witchy ass up here. I've got goats that need to be delivered. And I said, okay, I'm on my way. And so I went back home and went back over to her place, and we delivered goats that day. I'm a Reiki master as well. So she said, we need your Reiki witchy ass over here. That's what she said. That was her. Anyway. And I went and I delivered goats, and I thought, I do not know what the future holds for me, but I know one thing: I'm going to have to figure it out. And that's what I did. I went on a journey. Conventional medicine failed me. I ended up enrolling in therapy. And while my therapist was a lovely person, it just kept feeling like I was spinning my wheels over and over. And I couldn't do anything the day before therapy because I was thinking about it. I couldn't do anything the day of therapy because I was a mess, and I couldn't do anything the day after. And it was just the same story over and over and over again. We were not, while validating my experience, and she even said to me, she said, "You have PTSD?" And I said, I can't have PTSD. There's no way. And she said, I said, I've never been to war. And she said, "Oh, honey." And I remember it like it was yesterday. She said, "You've been to war every day of your life." And she's right. And I come to learn later through my doctoral research that that's actually known as complex PTSD, the idea where you're marinated in stress all the time. You can't get a rest. So the nervous system cannot repair. This is what I'm talking about today. So anyway, long story short, I went rogue. I already was an herbalist. I was like, yeah, we've got to figure out, there's other ways. There's always another way to do this. And I said, let me go rogue. Let me figure it out. And that's what I did. And that's the reason why I'm sharing the tools that I'm sharing with you. Now, here's the thing. An abnormal reaction to an abnormal situation is normal behavior. That's Viktor Frankl, survivor, founder of logotherapy. We call this hope therapy or logotherapy in positive psychology. And you can go ahead and click that link if you want later, or you can copy and paste it and save it for later if you want to check out more about the group program. But this is the idea of this, right? And this is what I teach my private clients, and this is what I teach in my group program, that your abnormal reaction to this abnormal situation is completely normal. There's nothing wrong with you. And that was the one thing that my therapist did, was validated my experience. And she said, he is never going to do anything different. You're going to be in another 30 years like this if you don't make a change. And she encouraged me to get out. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. I didn't make a lot of forward motion in other sessions, which is the reason why I'm doing the work that I do. That being said, that experience was validating for me. And I knew then that while therapy wasn't working for me personally, maybe it works for other people, it wasn't working for me as an HSP, but I knew at least that it wasn't me. I mean? Like, everybody has problems. I'm not perfect. I'm not saying like I'm all that, blah, blah, blah. No. We all have problems. Nobody's perfect. We all are imperfect people. But there's a difference between being an imperfect people and a kind soul and being a narcissistic manipulator that is purposely draining you dry. Those are radically two different things. So your intuition whispers, but narcissist lies yell. Believe the whisper. Believe that little still voice within you that says, look up. There's another way. So You are in the right place. And again, this is the link if you want to learn more about the group program. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it at the end, but just if you want to copy and paste that, you can. So anyway, you are in the right place if you feel drained, anxious, if you're feeling stuck, if you're either have come out of a toxic relationship or even poor work conditions. If you're being bullied at work, this is for you as well. Any type of chronic stress, if you feel burnout, exhausted, overwhelmed, if you are dragging during the day, and then all of a sudden at 3 p.m., you're even more dragging. But then at nighttime, you can't go to sleep because your mind is racing. These are all the same signs and symbols. If you have IBS, which is, I had IBS for years because of the horrible relationship that I was in. I had insomnia for years because of that. I had chronic headaches. I used to be a migraine sufferer so severe. I got rid of that with hypnosis, by the way. So powerful. I used to have focus issues, all these things. If you experience any of these things, you are already showing signs of extreme stress. And I hate to be that person, but if you see all the check engine lights coming on and you keep going, it can actually drive you down to complex PTSD or worse. What happened with me is all that complex PTSD and that years and years and years and years of abuse triggered a chronic illness called dysautonomia POTS. Now, I actually work with dysautonomia POTS people now in my 3-month program because I've learned ways to navigate that as well. But this is a part of how we can do that is to, again, come back out and nourish the nervous system, which is what I'm going to talk about here in a bit. But if you're emotionally exhausted, if you're questioning your worth, first of all, I want you to stop for a moment. If you're questioning your worth right now, I want to tell you, even if you don't know me, even if you never met me before, I don't care. If people can hate for no reason, you can love for no reason. And I want you to put your hand on your pulse right now. And I want you to feel that pulse. And I want you to know that you're worthy just by the fact that you have that pulse right there. Feel it? That's right. And you might be unsure how to heal in this moment, but trust me, I got you. You are worthy. And it took me a lot of years to figure that out. But so if you're ready for a science-based, more holistic approach, because this is who I work with HSPs, they often have contraindications to certain medicines, or medicines don't work for them, or they have the side effects are too bad. This is the reason why I'm doing the doctoral work that I'm doing, and this is the reason why I do the work in my private integrative practice as well. So I'm going to show the proven pathway to help you to get out of that. Now, of course, I'm only going to be able to share a little bit in the time we're together because the group program is actually basically 6 full modules. Some people do it a module a week. Some people do it a module a month, and that's okay because everybody's at their own pace, and that's what it's for. It's there for you. You are, once you're in, it's 100% in. There's no other payments or anything like that. And then people just go through it as slowly as they like. They integrate things. They make their own little prescription of what they need every day. And this is what I teach people to do. So here are some of the hidden impacts of stress. And this again leads to burnout, which leads to complex PTSD, which leads to chronic illness. And there's a continuum there. And if you don't get on the early end of the continuum, then unfortunately you could be triggering through epigenetics a chronic illness, and I don't wish that on anybody. So this is the reason why I think it's really important that we get started on nourishing this nervous system now and learn some easy tools we can integrate right away, right off the bat, which is what you're learning here. So the manipulation from narcissistic abuse not only causes self-doubt, it actually rewires your brain. And so what we do in hypnosis and mind body medicine, we use something called neuroplasticity to actually reroute the brain or rewire the brain in a positive way. Because what happens is the chronic stress, it leaves your nervous system completely defeated, or completely burned out, completely defeated and depleted all the way around. And then that over time starts to show up in the body. And those emotions of trauma or of being gaslit and or treated cruelly or bullied actually can get stuck in the body. So we need to process those through as well, which is the reason why I do somatic hypnosis is so important. So again, all this leads to burnout, which can affect your health, radically and affects your relationships. In my case, I realized, if I could not do that for me in that moment, I realized I wanted to do it for my grandbaby. And of course, now I have many grandbabies, and I'm grateful for that. But had I not done the healing work, now I could be unintentionally causing my grandchildren to suffer unnecessarily. That's not fair to them. That's how generational trauma keeps going on and on. And I refuse to let that continue to go on my watch. I'm breaking it. I hope you'll break it as well. So here's some of the science. This overactive stress hormones, the cortisol, and cortisol just doesn't go up and stay up. It goes up and it depletes, and that's a whole other thing. We're not going to talk about that. But what this does, it creates extreme fatigue, and it makes you feel like you can't think straight, like your thoughts are all over the place. And without intervention, burnout can lead again to extreme anxiety. It can rotate anxiety and depression. It can lead to chronic illnesses. It can lead to CPTSD. It can lead to a lot of things. And again, this is what we're talking about. We want to begin to not only recognize the signs, but then show ourselves enough love and compassion to begin to address it. Because if you don't address it, it will continue. And there's not a way out without addressing it. The body keeps the score. And so this is one of the books, not only that I talk about in my doctoral program, and I think I've read it, I don't know how many times at this point. Here, is it Peter Levine, I think? But anyway, but the body keeps the score and the body remembers. And so when you have something, if you like, I was watching TV the other day and I saw, and this was on the TV, and this is how powerful your mind is. And this is the reason why hypnosis works, by the way. But I saw a kid wreck their bike and I felt it in my entire body. My nervous system reacted to it. I was not on that bike. I did not wreck that bike. It was on TV. But my body put myself there as if I was there in that moment when I wrecked my bike as a kid. The body remembers. So this is the reason why we need to use somatic work. We need to get into the body. We need to use the different tools that I teach so that we can nourish that nervous system, process that stuff through, and then begin to heal. So these emotional wounds can create physical symptoms like, again, fatigue, insomnia, nightmares, tension, gut issues like IBS. This is another thing that I work with my private clients is IBS. I had IBS so bad that I couldn't even leave the house. And I thought I would suffer with that with the rest of my life. And I don't suffer with that anymore. I don't suffer with that. I don't suffer with migraines. I sleep good. I don't have night terrors anymore. I don't have nightmares anymore. I have reset my entire nervous system through the things that I'm going to teach you today. And of course, the other work that I teach in my private group program, like breath work, somatic movement, plant medicine, hypnosis. Again, all these things rewire your brain for calm. We call this neuroplasticity. So you can help think clearer, sleep better, and reduce your symptoms and really start processing this stuff out. And we do that through the polyvagal system or the vagus nerve. All right, so one of the tools I want to teach you now is called 7-Eleven breathing. This should really become a default. And so when I work with my private clients, we start with this, I teach them this, and then, I usually suggest that they put a reminder on their phone and do this a couple of times a day, because what we want to do is we're shallow breathing. We're not getting the right oxygen exchange, and that creates more anxiety and more depression and more sleepless nights, right? So what we want to do is get the proper oxygen exchange. We want to get our heart rate variability higher, and we want to begin to, again, nourish this nervous system. And one of the ways that I teach my clients, a lot of people teach box breathing. Don't do box breathing if you have any type of anxiety, because it actually can exacerbate that. And I've actually, actually teach that to other therapists as well, that there's certain times that certain types of breathing is contraindicated. So I don't teach that. I do teach the 7-Eleven breathing. I also teach the cosmic breath. I also teach 6 in, 6 out. Like I teach a lot of different breath work, but for today, we're just going to talk about the 7-Eleven breathing. If you want more information, again, about those other types of breath work, again, we'll talk about that. You can join the private group because I have a lot of different tools in breath work as well, plus the other tools like plant therapy, aromatherapy as well, which we'll talk about. All right. So this is how the 7-Eleven breathing goes. You can screenshot this if you like. So what you're going to do is inhale through the nose to the count of 11. And you really want to inflate that belly. And then you want to exhale to the count of 11. So in 7, out 11. So put your right hand on your belly and really feel that belly soften and mouth soften, and put your left hand on your chest. And so what you're going to do is breathe into the count of 11 through your nose and really feel that belly expand. And then when you exhale, I want you to allow that exhale to actually do an audible exhale. Really pull that belly in. So I'm going to be talking as I'm doing this. So I'm going to talk for a minute, then I'm going to model for a moment. But when we do the 7-11 breathing, what it does is it signals your brain to shift out of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. There's actually 4 parts to the trauma reflex: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. I talk about this again in my private group because most people know about fight or flight, but they don't know about fawning, which is people pleasing, which is trying to give them, which is what I did. Give the narcissist everything he wants. Maybe he'll love you. That's not the way it works. Give the narcissist everything he wants. Do more and more and more. Maybe he'll be kind to you. That's not the way it works. That's the fawn. The freeze reflex if you just stop and you do nothing because you don't know what to do. So all those trauma response. This also lowers the cortisol, balances out all the hormones, not just the cortisol hormones, but all the hormones in your body. So if you're having hormonal issues, this is a great thing to start one. Supports focus, clarity, creativity. Again, reduces panic attacks. Did you know that the science says that panic attacks actually show up before you have a full-blown panic attack? The body starts sending signs, which means once you recognize those signs, is what I teach my private clients who have panic attacks. Once you start seeing where that sign comes up, then you can stop and redirect, and you can actually prevent panic attacks. I remember the panic attacks that I would have when I saw people in a particular type of uniform, I would have a panic attack. And I remember one time I saw something that triggered that. I actually ran off into the woods and started stripping my clothes off. So, what I'm going is panic attacks are not necessarily a good thing, especially if you're kind of person like me that strips their clothes off. So luckily, the 2 people I were with were safe people, but nonetheless, they got a little show. So this is the benefit of mindful breathing, right? The simple mindfulness tool. 5 minutes of this, save your life, right? So in breathing in for the count of 7 and out for 11. In, out. Stay seated when you start this in the beginning, please. In. Breathing out, stay seated when you do this at first, because if you're not used to getting the good oxygen exchange, it might make you dizzy. Good. So again, when you start this, stay seated. Make sure you're in a safe space. You don't want to get dizzy or pass out, especially if you are pass out risk. If you only want to do 1 breath, you can take a break, then come back to it. But the idea here is really to really activate this vagus nerve, really activate the full breath, get the full oxygen exchange. And again, what this does is increase your heart rate variability. That's a good thing. We want the heart rate variability to be increased. A lower heart rate variability indicates that we are greater risk for cardiac incident. Before I started learning these tools, I started monitoring my heart rate variability, and my heart rate variability was like 33. That's not good. And so then as I started beginning to do these tools, my heart rate variability went up to like 80 and 100. That's good. That's what we want. So this is important. There's apps for this. If you want to monitor this, you can, but you do not have to. I'm just sharing the science behind how this works. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about, excuse me, is some of the phytotherapy that I teach in my private group program. Now, phytotherapy is just a fancy word for saying plant-based therapy. These are people like me who are clinical herbalists, clinical aromatherapists, flower essence practitioners. They grow their own medicine. They make medicine. They're medicine people, right? They teach classes, right? So this idea of plant-based therapy, this is what we're going to talk about. Of course, now, again, in my group program, I share a lot more herbs, aromatherapy. I share a lot of flower essence tools that are really, really great. So for right now, I'm just going to share some little basics again to get you started. But one of the herbal nervines that I like that's really, really great at nourishing the nervous system, as a matter of fact, I'm on this plant. I'm actually on both of these right now because I have the shingles, but these are actually part of my daily routine now. I love my lemon balm tea. I grow lemon balm. I grow Tulsi. Lemon balm tea, this is Melissa officinalis, by the way. Sorry, I didn't put the botanical name in there. I love it in an elixir. I love it in a tincture. I love it in a tea. I actually make a mead with it. I make herbal mead. So if you want to learn how to make herbal mead with lemon balm, you go to my website, kellyhuger.com, and you go to the blog section, type in mead. But it has a great lemon taste. It also is a great bitter. So when you're under a lot of when you're under extreme stress, the digestive system gets shut down, and bitters can actually help reactivate that. So this has a bitter principle as well. So you're getting a lot of different benefits in just this one plant. This, again, Melissa officinalis, um, also known as lemon balm. So now I want to talk a little bit about herbal adaptogens. The one I've chosen to talk about is Tulsi. What is the botanical name? Escapes me. Um, Cinnamon. Gosh, I can't remember it off the top of my head. I should have put the botanical names in here. Well, anyway, if you need the botanical names, just shoot me a text. I'll send them to you. I've got most of them off the top of my head, but for some reason that one just escapes me for right this second. But anyway, Tulsi, I love Tulsi. This is an Ayurvedic herb, and I am not necessarily I've had Ayurvedic herbalism class, but I'm really bioregional and a traditional Western herbalist. But um, I love this because it's easy to grow. And a lot of the people who I work with like plants, they want to grow their own medicine. And so Tulsi is a great plant to grow. It's an herbal adaptogen. Again, tea, tincture, elixir. I love it as an elixir. And it's great adaptogen. And what an adaptogen means is it helps the body to cope with stress. So it can help support your immune system, your cardiovascular system, your help regulate blood sugar. And here's the thing with Tulsi, also known as holy basil, Ocimum teniflorum. Ocimum teniflorum. Okay. Also, it's tasty. It tastes good. It's easy to grow. Most people can find it anywhere. Mountain Rose Herbs has these, by the way. I don't get a kickback if you want to go there and get them if you don't grow. But an adaptogen is a great way to help normalize the stress response. So you're going really, really high, going to bring you back down, right? So Tulsi is great. It is easy to grow. Again, I've done this in a mead as well. I didn't put the recipe on my website, but I do a lot of herbal meads. I've only got the one recipe on the website. But again, helps normalize the stress response, helps bring you back into balance. And again, it tastes great. So those are two right away you can get started on. Right away you can get started on 7-Eleven breathing. Right away. I'm giving you the tools right away to get you started. Totally pro bono. Now, let's talk a little about aromatherapy. Now, in my private group program, I actually share the remedy that I developed that is in my doctoral program, my dissertation, and my book. Because for me, I had trouble eating, I had trouble sleeping, and I needed more than just lavender essential oil, which is great. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So I added in some others that really were personalized for me, but I now noticing that other people are liking it as well. And I share that recipe on my private group. I love lavender essential oil because it has a sedative effect. And a lot of times we're wired for sound. We need to bring ourselves down. Sometimes we have trouble sleeping. So lavender can help promote restful sleep. I actually, and this on my private group, I actually teach them how to make room sprays. You can make like a lavender room spray, a sheet spray. You can put a couple drops in just a cotton ball and put it near your pillow if you like. You can use a diffuser. You can put a couple of drops in a diffuser, use it next to your bed before you go to bed at night, or even during your workstation if you need to really kind of bring yourself down and settle a little bit. So lavender essential oil, there's a lot of research around this, and it is really, really a great essential oil to have on hand. Now, I'm not going to talk a lot about flower essences just for time's sake. However, as a flower essence practitioner and somebody who makes a large line of flower essences, particularly tree essences, which is what I'm known for. And right now I'm not selling them. I used to sell my products at herb conferences such as this one that I was teaching at on tree medicine. Um, but I will just throw in a freebie real quick on that one, a little free resource on that one. Um, tulip poplar flower essence is really great for this type of work. Really, really great. So, like I said, I have it on hand. But there's probably other herbalists who do tulip poplar flower essence as well. But anyway, this is a picture of me teaching a class about herbal medicine and tree medicine. And you can't see this probably in the picture, but in my hair, there's a tulip poplar leaf, which is what gave me the idea to share that flower essence tip with you. All right. So here's a great somatic exercise to release stress instantly. So there's a couple different ways we can do this. I do this with my grandkids because I teach my grandkids to dance. So I'm always learning new dance moves. Like right now, they're learning, yeah, sweep the floor, sweep the floor. And I teach them all kinds of different dance moves, and I teach them the hokey pokey. So you can do this like the hokey pokey if you're physically able. And if you're not, I'm going to show you a different way to do it as well. We call this shake therapy. I talk about this in my book. I'm not talking about this in a dissertation, but I do talk about it in the book, and I do talk about it in the private group program because I just think it's great. I just think it's great. So what you're going to do is just kind of start, and don't hurt yourself. This is not about hurting yourself or pushing yourself. This is just about allowing things to process through. Just start gently shaking one arm a little bit, and now start shaking the other arm a little bit. Now start allowing your torso to wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Shoulders, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Now wiggle your hips. Now start kind of just shaking a little bit your legs. Maybe just roll your ankles out. Now pull your toes all the way in and then stretch them out. Now pull them all the way in and stretch them out. Now tense them and stretch them out. But now just kind of start. You can do this sitting down. Like I do this sometimes before I go to bed at night. If I just had a long day and I'm wired, I just do like a little shake therapy and I just kind of shake all over my body. It is great. Now, another way you can do this that you have the added benefit with music therapy, because I talk about that in my book as well, and I talk about that in the group program too, is add some music to it. So the perfect one that I do and do with the kids is the hokey pokey song. Put your right arm in and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Left side. You remember? Well, maybe you don't. Not look it up. But I know I'm not a singer. I won't quit my day job. But this is a great way to process and move that stuff through the body. Move it through. So I also talk about another flower essence in my private group, magnolia flower essence, which is great for that as well. So there's a couple different ways you can do that, just like I walked you through, or you can actually do the hokey pokey. And I think it's better to do it on skates, but I don't know how solid I am on those anymore. So, but you don't have to do it on skates. That's joking. But even Tai Chi, Qigong, when I had the shingles and I could barely even move, I did just a little bit of arm raisings of the Qigong, right? That's all I could do in the moment. And that's okay too. You can start small and you can work up. So, all right. So I've given you some tools already. I've shared a little bit about some of the things I talk a little bit deeper about in my group program. And for me, the old way did not work. So this is the reason why I came up with the way. This is the reason why I came up with the program that I came up with, right? Because the old way wasn't working. And I'm like, okay, well, if it's not working for me, how many other people are suffering? Because it's not working for them either. And so as I began to develop this and saw what worked and what didn't work, I began to place everything that worked and I made notes. And I actually began, and I did this through my doctoral program. I did the research. I found, what does the research say about this particular method that we're using to heal from? And the research began to back it. And I began to notice that the things that I was doing and the research that was backing it, these were the things that were working the best. And so I began to make note of that. And that's how I end up writing the book. That's how I end up developing my private group program that I have now. And that is what my dissertation is on as well. The old way, the slow way. And I've been there. So I'm not saying this. And I encourage all of my private clients obviously to stay with all their medical providers, stay with your therapist, stay with everybody, because that needs to be your decision. And a lot of a lot of my private clients just say, I still work with my therapist. I just don't need to see them as much. And that's okay too. But we want to be very, very ethical. And we never want to tell someone to stop seeing someone. That's just not ethical. But for me personally, talk therapy did not work. And for me, it was not a panacea. It didn't work. As a matter of fact, it was actually making it worse because I was not having any forward motion. And I began to think, it's me. There's something wrong with me. So I began to analyze them. What's wrong with me? Why isn't this working? So if talk therapy has not worked for you, you're not alone on that one. Prescriptions. I tried to take one of the prescriptions and it made me worse and it gave me worse side effects. And of course, I'm not doing that. Or some people come to me and say, yes, I'm on this and I'm doing well on this. And that's okay too. But for me, nothing worked, and or it just numbed me out to where I couldn't enjoy anything. And that's not me. I want to be able to enjoy my grandbabies. So again, now this is my experience. Now, so I'm not saying, just saying the way that I've done it now, so much better. The old way focuses just on the mind. Just keep talking about the trauma over and over and over and over again. Guess what? No, that just drives it stronger and stronger into your brain and your body. That's all that does. That's the benefits of hypnosis. That's the reason why we do somatic hypnosis. That's the reason why we do flower essences. That's the reason why we nourish the nervous. This is the reason why we do breath. This is the reason why we do all the things that I teach in my private group program, because we have got to find another way than just talking it through over and over and over again and driving it deeper, 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 and deeper. Exactly. It made it worse for me. If healing is just feeling slow for you, if you're just like, okay, I'm feeling like this is just going too slow, I'd like to integrate some other tools in with this so that I can have a speedier way, then you're in the right place. So for me personally, this is what I did. I did the somatic techniques and tools to release trauma that was stored in the body, right? Not only did I do breathwork and hypnosis, and I do self Reiki, and everybody in my group also once a month gets Reiki if they want, right? I did the urban aromatherapy to support my nervous system. I did the flower essences, right? I did nature therapy, right? I did all of those things within the mind body medicine model. And not only did I do all those things, I found the research that supports each one of the things that I did that works. Not only that works for me and that works for me, but that also works for my private clients as well and the people in my group program. So for me, mind body medicine way is to go. It is on equal footing with conventional medicine. This is not a smoke and mirrors fad thing. We're not going anywhere. You see this 50 years from now, you will be like, wow, okay. So the mind body medicine model is a revolutionary way that we are bringing in new tools. Not new tools. Hypnosis has been around since the beginning of time. Breath work, shamans have been doing that since the beginning of time, but we're bringing it not only in urban aromatherapy, but we're bringing the science of why it works. And this is the beauty of mind body medicine, and hypnosis as well, obviously, which is part of mind body medicine model. All right, so Dr. John Patterson says this all the time. And so thank you, Dr. Patterson, for allowing me to borrow this quote from you. 5 minutes of mindfulness a day can save your life. We actually have the research behind that as well. They are actually proving that 5 minutes of mindfulness a day can improve your sleep, can improve your focus, can improve your memory, can reduce your risk of cardiac incidents, can reduce your risk of diabetes, right? It can help you to recover from chronic illnesses if you have. I personally think you ought to do more than 5 minutes a day. But the research says that at least 5 minutes a day can radically transform your life. And of course, here is the link to the group program as well. All right, so I keep all of my clients, obviously, their pictures and their names confidential unless they write a review and they put their name, that's their choice. But this is some of the feedback that I've gotten from the group program. This group program, this gave me the tools to rebuild my life after narcissistic abuse. And that's huge because that's very difficult to do. Another one of my clients said, Kelly is amazing. She's been there. She validates your experiences while still helping you heal. And so that's another private. These are these are clients in my group program as well. So now what I want to share with you is the tools. I want to share with you the tools that not only that I learned in my doctoral program and that I use from being a phytotherapist, a clinical herbalist, clinical aromatherapist, and flower essence and medicine maker and plant grower and all those things, right? The breath work, right? Functional, I'm a functional medicine coach. So I actually share functional nutrition recipes to help nourish the mitochondrial cell as well. And I do this for the fraction of the cost of other people's programs. A lot of people have similar programs that they're selling for about $1,000. My group program is not that much. Right now there's an 85% discount, easily worth $1,200, an easily worth $1,200 program. Once you're in, you're in. There's no hidden fees or anything like that. Now, if you buy supplements or something like that, that may be something you might want to do, and you don't have to. But there's no hidden fees. There's no hitting you up later on for money or anything like that. Once you're in, you're in. Lifetime access. But here's one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make. Number one, they think they can do it on their own. And one of my clients actually, she tried this. She went that way. She spent 5 years, and this is what she told me. She spent 5 years and $15,000 on things that did not work. Supplements, courses, doctors, blah, 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 la, 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 all the things. And she ended up coming back to me and she said, and she was hesitant she had not worked with me one-on-one, but she'd had a phone call and she was hesitant to work with me one-on-one, which I understand, especially after spending that much money. But finally she came back to me. She goes, Kelly, you're my last hope. Nothing's working. I've spent $15,000. And I said, oh, honey, oh my goodness. And so anyway, we ended up having a conversation. Anyway, she reached out to me. This was some time ago. So she reached out to me not long ago and she said, I am still doing good from the work that we did together. She said it really made a huge difference and it didn't cost me 15 grand. It's like, well, there you go. So I say that not to brag, but I say that to say that this is all evidence-based. I have researched, I've got papers behind this. And if you want to see them, I would happily share them. This is all research-based. This is all peer-reviewed research. The research that I do is all within 5 years. So we have the tools within mind body medicine to do things a different way and the way that works for other people who may not be this people who where conventional medicine works. Conventional medicine works great for some people, and that's great. I'm not going to take it away. Look, if I break my look, I got the shingles, right? I'm going to send myself Reiki, but I'm also going to get on the medication for that short duration, right? But that's fine for acute situations. But for long-term situation and things that are stubborn or things that we're not getting relief on, we need to look otherwhere. It's not a word. Elsewhere. But now it's otherwhere. There you go. Just coined it, whatever. But we need to really look elsewhere. And this is the beauty of mind body medicine. So if you're ready to reclaim your power, if you're tired of scrolling on social media and just watching all my narcissist did this, but not healing, if you're ready to feel worthy and confident again, if you're ready to build a future, where I'm at right now, I would have never thought when I told you that story at the beginning, when the whisper said, look up, I would have never, ever thought I could be where I am today with the joy that I have, with the sleeping soundly that I have, with not having night terrors and running through the house and almost falling down steps and hurting myself. I would have never, ever, ever thought that would have been possible. But with mind body medicine and the tools that not only that I use and that I teach my private clients and in this program, the link is right here if you want to check it out and sign up. I hope you'll join me. But it was really a miracle. It is really a miracle. I should not be where I am today. Thanks to neuroplasticity, thanks to post traumatic growth. Did the trauma happen? Yes. Did it suck? Yes. Did it change aspects of me? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I don't need to give him another 30 years of my life. I said it. And I don't need to give anyone else or any other abuser 30 years of my life. I deserve to get my life back. You deserve to get your life back too. All right. So right now, the cost of the class is very, very inexpensive. I am adding new things to it and switching it over to the website. So the price is going to be going up soon. So I hope you will get in at the discounted price. Thank you for joining me. I hope you got some value of this. Just so if you take nothing away from this, you've got some tools you can get started with. And I want you to know you're not alone. Follow me on Facebook, social medias, follow me all in all the places. I've got free stuff on my blogs as well. I hope to see you inside the group program. There's the link. You can check out the link. You can sign up now. I am in the group program all the time. You see me all the time. You see the dogs a lot as well. Your healing journey is ready. It's here. It's waiting for you. So click that link. I hope to see you on the inside. And you guys have an awesome, possum day. Mwah! And be blessed in all that you do.